So this is my 1976 Cherokee S model. This was a factory 401 rig, which might hurt some of the purists. I took the 401 out of this. I actually ended up selling the motor, transmission, transfer case last year for what I paid for this rig originally. It does have some cancer, so like this is gonna get fixed. But one of the bonuses with what I'm doing, I want to make this thing lower. I already lowered it 2 inches with a lift block and actually did it backwards. Since it sprung under in the front, I put the lift block underneath the axle to drop its center line, or raise its center line so it would lower the rig. Not the safest thing, but that's what I was gonna do. But I came up with the idea and took some measurements. For 2000 Chevy Tahoe right now. And you've seen some pics of it. There's some shorts on this as well from gutting my Silverado chassis as well. But there was some discrepancies and stuff I didn't want to use on that, and with running the Tahoe chassis I can actually run the linked rear suspension instead of a leaf sprung rear suspension like the Silverado had. And with this linked suspension it runs what's known as a coil spring, and they're a lot softer, smoother ride, so I can actually lower this a lot easier. I want to set the Cherokee body as low as possible where the motor still fits well, but I also want to do a drop suspension, so if the frame, without cutting the body too much, I can set it on the frame like I want to, and then I can lower the suspension. So the plan is to run a 2-inch drop spindle, and then also convert 2 coilovers in the front and delete the torsion bars because it'll ride better. And the coilovers I want to run are a dual adjustable, so I can adjust the rebound and compression. And then the rear to match, I will run a a lowering coil spring that is set up for these Tahoes that are pretty decent price, and then I don't have to play out arm and leg to try putting coilovers in the back when the coils themselves are good, and the packaging's there for me to run a coil and a shock. Some more on this build, it'll get into it. I'm not doing too much in depth on the chassis. This thing's literally just coming apart. It was already drained of Freon, so I don't have to worry about that. And drain the coolant, time to take the brake system off. I just finished pulling all the wiring harness out of the way, and it's, as you saw, the computer sitting on top of the motor. I'm gonna keep digging into it. There'll be more shots. I'm not gonna be filming too much of just the teardown because it's just tedious and dirty, and I don't want to get the camera all dirty, but I'll keep you guys posted. Why I wanted to go to this chassis is I was going to use this plastic fuel tank because it's 26 gallons, good fuel capacity, and it's EFI, so it already has a proper pump in it, or I can upgrade the pump for the turbo motor that's going in the Cherokee for more fuel capacity. And the other reason is because it's a rear fill, so it actually came into the rear quarter panel behind the back tire like the Cherokee is now. But after pulling the body off and inspecting it, I realized that is not going to work the way I wanted it to, because the clearance between the transfer case and the fuel tank is way too tight right now. But I also need to shorten this chassis realistically 7 to 8 inches to match the wheelbase that my Cherokee is. This thing right now is sitting 116 at ride height. My Cherokee is 108. I can fudge it in the wheel wells and get an inch or two front and rear, but I don't have 6 inches here to take out with the transfer case. But the other issue I'm going to run into is I'm actually getting rid of the 4L60 and I'm going to a GM NV4500 5-speed and a 241 transfer case. The transmission itself is a little bit longer. The case is actually a little bit smaller because this is a magnesium auto shift transfer case, which is fine, but it's a push button, and I want manual shift, which is this electric motor here. So this actually has an all-wheel drive option in it because of how the Tahoe is set up. I don't want that because the viscous coupler in here has issues with big power. Plus, this is a 27 spline input. Transmission is 27 spline output, so they are married together really well. My NV4500 is a big 32 spline, so I need a bigger transfer case input, which I have on a 241C. So it'll be exactly the same powertrain that's in my Jeep now. It'll be an iron block LM7 NV4500 with a 241C. The one in this build will not have a slip yoke eliminator like my Jeep does, because I don't need to convert to a CV joint because I have not the same amount of travel. The Jeep pulls about 15 inches of travel in the back, whereas this will only pull about 6. So running a standard slip yoke will be perfect. So this is that 2000 Tahoe chassis. This is not the Cherokee, as you saw. Cherokee's brown. It's an actual wagon. This is a 73 J4000. This is going to be going on a different, newer GM chassis. But we had just pulled this truck apart. It was still on the lift, so I wanted to see how the front end actually fit with the motor independent. The wheel well is pretty lined up straight. It's within a ½ inch of centered. Motor sits in there really well. Way more brake clearance. Heater box is probably going to get pulled out and go to an aftermarket. Frame rails will get trimmed so I can put the 3-piece bumper mounts on it. But that is with the cab on the chassis at weight with a 31-inch tall tire. I'm going to run more of a car tire, like a 26, so I can go even lower. And so I can stuff them and they'll fit a lot better. And the backside of the cab needs to come down because it's actually sitting on the sheet metal. Frame rail is quite a bit narrower on the J-Truck chassis, but than this Tahoe chassis. So, but this one, like I said, it's going on to Silverado. So I'm going to be setting up 2 different build series for this, these builds on the channel. This one is the J-Truck, but it's going to go on a Silverado chassis. And the Cherokee already has a slight playlist. I have a couple of videos for making the motor mount and transmission mount for the 53480 on the factory chassis. And I believe I called it LS swapping my Cherokee or full-size Jeep. Still going to be the same playlist, but it's going to be a chassis swap, LS swap, a whole shebang of things to get done, do a turbo kit, and get it running and driving as fast as I can, with not cutting corners on saving money, but save as much money as possible because parts do get expensive. So I'm building my own turbo kit. I'm using that used 24 valve 2nd gen Cummins turbo, and a couple other parts that I have sitting. The Cherokee, I am going to take that 4L80 out, even though I made that mount. That's going to change because this whole new chassis as well. I am going to be putting an MV4500 in it, 5-speed from GM. It's a 92, so it's got the super low granny first gear, which won't be needed by any means. But it's a 5-speed I have that just needs rebuilt. It's actually the one that came out of my Jeep Carnage because I had smoked the 3rd gear in it or killed the synchros, so it was grinding all the time. I have pulled it apart and the 3rd gear is toast, but there will be a build series on the build video for that as well for the Cherokee. And I'll make a whole new transmission mount for this build. Whole new exhaust system because of the turbo. I'm trying to run the exhaust on the outside of the frame, but just rambling. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of this build, let me know. If there's specific spots on the build you guys want to see, let me know in the comments. Hit me up on email, Instagram, all of those are going to be linked as well. But thanks for watching. You guys have a good rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching this. Goodbye.